I don't really love when we do this to professional athletes, but we also have no choice. We spent the better part of yesterday talking about how would you feel about all of this if you were Jimmy Garoppolo, and at least acknowledge that there would be some frustration. There would be some things over the last couple of years that wouldn't be your favorite with the way that 49er football has sort of unfolded for him as an individual, as the quarterback. But what we end up doing is trying to figure out, like, what are they thinking and what are they feeling? And so I went back to the comments that were made when Jimmy was kept, when he was restructured. And he made the statement, I don't really want to ruffle the feathers too much around here. Kyle, do we have that, by the way, from Jimmy Garoppolo, the statement he made about the ruffling of feathers? Give us a little bit of Jimmy back when he was restructured.
That just wasn't the way I wanted it to go. There was a thought of that at one point. Trust me, there was. But that came and went, and I don't know. Things just kind of kept falling into place. And I'm one of those people that, I don't want to really ruffle the feathers too much here and there, and kind of want to just go with the flow. And that's kind of the way the training camp was going, and I was happy with it. And like I said, things worked out, and I'm happy now.
Okay, so can Jimmy actually be himself? Because if Jimmy is, the guy who doesn't really want to ruffle feathers around here, I'm like, that's not really starting quarterback stuff if you look around the league.
Well, especially when he says what he said about, things were going pretty well and I was okay with that. Well, things were going pretty well because you weren't being asked to do anything other than play catch with a friend on the sideline. So that tells me all I need to know about how locked in he was in terms of being a 49er quarterback.
Well, and maybe it speaks to why he was smiling after the game on Sunday night, because he's just not a feather ruffler. That's not the way Jimmy is wired, and maybe we want that to be different, and you can look around the league. Like Patrick Mahomes is fighting with Eric Bieniemy last weekend. Tom Brady yells at everybody every single
tablets.
week. Aaron Rodgers, feather ruffler? You tell me.
Josh Allen ruffles feathers.
I mean, holy smokes.
It's because Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't really care at the same level about this 49er organization.
Okay, is it that? Or are you being tongue-in-cheek?
No, I think that's what it is.
It is, okay.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo cares more about his own future, and I don't fault him for that because, as you mentioned, they fired him, and they only rehired him because they had no choice but to rehire him. And then nobody thought that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be the starter in Week 3. Kyle didn't think that Trey Lance would be hurt. Jimmy didn't think that Trey would be hurt. Jimmy Garoppolo probably, when he signed his deal, thought, all right, I'm here just in case. And then Week 2, he gets inserted back in the game, and now it's like, oh, Jimmy, now we need you. You're our guy again. And he's like, FOH.
Totally. I would venture to guess that. However, this is the way I'll say it, just so that it doesn't, I'm not here to say, oh, Jimmy doesn't care. I'm not here to say that at all. It's something I'm going to watch. I'd like to watch this year to continue to look for differences in Jimmy that we haven't seen before. I think it's ridiculous to say he doesn't care flatly. Now, does he care less?
It was an overstatement.
Well, no, I just mean there's a couple ways to say it. Just, does he care? Well, yeah, he cares. We spent a show 2 days ago trying to lip read when he's screaming on the field. He cares. Obviously, he cares. This is somebody who took a 49er team that had just fired him through the playoffs last year with one thumb and one shoulder. Yes, he cares. But where are you putting that care?
Right.
When things don't go well, what's your thought? Oh, hell, the 49ers season is now hanging in the balance? Or is it, oh, hell, my future contract is hanging in the balance? And then add in a little dash of, that's the way certain people are wired. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a scream at the coach on the sideline guy.
Right.
You threw that out yesterday as like a faux, sort of visual.
Like a what if, a hypothetical.
And I was funny because I'm running it through my head and I'm like, it would never, ever, ever happen. I mean, that visual felt to me like me getting wasted at a bar and throwing up on the street.
Oh, I'd love to see it.
I'd
love to see both, by the way.
ever happen.
It might. You never know.
Old me, maybe. College, sure. That was in my tank.
Jimmy, old Mark, new Jimmy.
You
just never know. And, Jimmy might get to a spot where he does get frustrated. We haven't seen it yet. we haven't seen you get to that point of inebriation. It would be an inebriation sensation.
I can pop a few back. To me, it's
you
always.
cannot pop a few
I
back.
absolutely
a couple,
can.
and it gets dicey.
I've gone north of 2 plenty of times
You've
recently.
gone to shout out Mark Few.
Absolutely.
You've gone into Mark Few, Gonzaga country.
Come on, brother. We can. And if it turns into Manhattans after 7:00, we're in really, really good shape. But it's never, ever, ever going to get to. I am vomiting on the sidewalk.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Shout out my 41st birthday.
Cost-benefit analysis.
Barclays and College Avenue.
Really just got to the point where I'm like, this is a bad trade.
It is now,
okay?
yeah. And I'm
it's
not
like the
there
Mets
either,
getting Darren Ruff for 4 players. I'm like, I don't like this trade.
How's he done for the Mets? Not great.
Not good.
Not great.
I'll look it up.
He
But go
popped
ahead.
early, but
no, not good.
Jimmy Garoppolo is more likely to blow up than you are to throw up. And
Well played.
if we get to a point where Jimmy Garoppolo continues to get frustrated, and I think part of it will be the fan clamor. If fans continue to clamor and get mad at the fact that he's not very good, if the team loses and frustration boils over, you may see it from Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, we've already seen him do things that we've never seen before, mouthing "your plays suck, man" at Kyle Shanahan on the field. That's something we've never seen before. And if they lose to the Rams and they fall to 1-3 and Jimmy G steps out of the end zone again, you might see more frustration than what we think otherwise.
That's what I'm watching for. This is what's fascinating to me. I really want to watch the arc of this because we do have, and whether you're a lip reader or you just want to point to his post-Seattle press conference, hey, 2017 was fun when we got to throw it around, or point to Chris Collinsworth passing along that he did wink, wink, nod, nod with him. Like, yeah, there's a little of me that's like, oh, okay, 49ers, you need me now. I'm watching. And I would suggest to all of us, keep an eye on differences in Jimmy, in the guy that we've known through the last 5 years. By the way, Darren Ruff in New York, 152 batting average.
Man.
And an OPS. This is the OPS.
500?
413.
Oh, my God.
Stinks.
That's like...
And the Giants got J.D. Davis and 3 minor leaguers, one of whom is crushing it, by the way, maybe even a couple of them.
Yeah, I don't know how the Mets can recover. That's right.
Yeah, we'll see how they do in the playoffs. We're going to be Mets fans here pretty quick if they play the Dodgers. So say nice things about the New York Mets, if you will. All right? But yeah, that's kind of where my head is at. I have suddenly found, because I hear a lot of people, the 49ers are boring with this offense. Okay, fine. They're not boring if they win. I'll stand on that hill all day. But I don't find Jimmy right now boring at all, because I'm thinking that this might be a different version of him. And I'm not really talking about football. I'm talking about all of the other stuff. But I think that stuff can lead or bleed into the football. And it largely will, again, tell the story of where this season goes. Last year, we were largely amazed that Jimmy Garoppolo was able to compartmentalize. You fired me. I'm hurt. I'm going to put this all aside. We're 3-5, and damn it, we're going on a run. And we applauded him for that, and we rightfully so. That, to me, was very, very impressive. Now he's being asked to do it again,
right,
as the backup.
But he's not the backup.
He is. We're not going to get into this semantics again. He is factually the backup.
Start between now and the end of his days with the Niners, because the guy who was the starter is no longer the starter. Jimmy Garoppolo is now the starter, and Jimmy Garoppolo will compartmentalize in the same fashion that he did last year, because he's a professional, and he might say things outside the lines that are different than what we're used to, but he's not going to try to tank his play. He's not going to try to change play calls. He's not going to try to go rogue. Jimmy Garoppolo is a professional football player,
sure,
and he will act accordingly, not only because he respects the game, but he wants to win, and he wants to get that next contract, like any of us would want to do that. So I don't expect him to do anything different than what he's done while the ball is in play. Now, at press conferences, if you catch him mouthing things between plays, off the field, that's all different. And I don't hold him accountable for any of that, because he's been such a solid stand-up guy. But I don't think that he's going to play any differently or act any differently than he has, because that's Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right. Well, it also would not be self-serving. So I hear you there. To me, it's subtle. It's subtle and something to watch, because if Jimmy's playing for the 49ers or playing for a contract, it leads to the same thing. He's trying to play good football.
Right.
But when things get difficult, can that lead to stuff if two people on the same team are pushing in the same direction, but for different reasons? I mean, just think in your own life.
Kyle Shanahan comes down his road,
right?
Like after a 3rd and 4 play where Jimmy throws to the wrong guy, somebody's wide open, and he goes to the sideline.
Well, that would never happen.
What? Yeah, God forbid. And then Kyle barks at him. And, normally Jimmy G would just take it in stride and go to the bench. I wonder now if Jimmy G doesn't fire back. And there's cameras on everything. So if things continue to be in a bad place, and right now at 1-2, they are in a bad place, I wonder if we don't catch that moment between the two.
Yeah, well, he's not a feather ruffler, but all of you, think about in your own lives when you're working and you go to work, but you don't like your company. Or you think your boss has got the wrong idea about how to get from point A to point B. It affects you. You get in the break room with, the person from down the hall. Yeah, these guys. There's just the muttering in the hallway.
Bochy?
Dude, and it's, right?
We work with Boj all of a sudden?
Yeah, right. Want a beer? We're not allowed to drink during the office.
No direction.
Nobody cares. You know what I mean? It can become a cancer. And so we're early in this, but the smile gate, and I don't want to ruffle feathers, and now I'm the backup to Trey Lance, and I liked 2017, and sure, how you need me now. Like, all of this is built up in a 3-week period, and that's a lot. That's a lot in a little amount of time. There's a long way to go.
Right.
And we've already viewed this in a very short amount of time.
As a dramatic thing.
Yes.
But you win Monday night, and everything
and everybody's happy.
It all gets back to feels great, baby. And if you lose to the Rams, we get closer to see ya. And that's where, everything is on kind of a razor's edge right now with this team, because it's more than just Jimmy Garoppolo. It's Deebo Samuel and his ineffectiveness, and George Kittle. Are you even playing, bro? And Brandon Ayuk and his great offseason, which is manifested into nothing, and an offensive line that's got gigantic questions. And, oh, by the way, a defense that might be the best you've had in 20 years being wasted. So all these things with a win, not a big deal. You're 2-2, and you have 2 winnable games on a 2-game road trip. Go enjoy the Greenbrier, everybody, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. But a loss on Monday night and a 1-3 record, you're closer to the bottom of the NFC than you are the top. And, oh, by the way, you can't tank for a pick because you don't have one.
You don't have a pick. Yeah.